Chapter 22 Curing the Superior Dog. Mu Ningzhu's speech was very short. Mo Fan didn't understand what the guys were so excited about. They spoke as though they really could get into the Empire Institution. Empire Magic Institution was naturally the best magic university within the country. For a city like Bo City, every person who entered it would already be extraordinary. With the recruitment rate so low, it showed how special and how outstanding Mu Ningzhu was. She was recruited into Empire Institution without even experiencing Magic High School. Brother Fan, do your best in the next 2 years and enter Empire. After entering Empire Institution, even if Mu family's arms are long, they most likely can't reach there. By then. He. Zhang Xiaohou chuckled. Just as the words left Zhang Xiaohu's mouth, that nosy Zhao Kunsen jumped out. Don't make me laugh. After today, your brother Fan will be directly expelled from the school, so don't even think about Empire Institution. Zhao Kunsen exclaimed. Zhao Kunsen, are you sick or something? When did my brother Fan ever offend you? Do you want to bark like a dog every time we say something? Zhang Xiaohou had endured Zhao Kunsen for far too long. In any case, Zhang Xiaohou was currently one of the preeminent students of the class, and also one of the few who was able to use magic. He didn't know what kind of qualifications this trash, Zhao Kunsen, who was only able to control 6 stars, had that made him confident enough to bark so loud in front of him. He didn't offend me. However, I'm just unable to get used to this little drag having no sense of shame. I just really don't understand where you got the guts to befriend Miss Mu Ningzhu back in the day. You should be more clear on what kind of thing you are, and stop your wishful thinking. If it wasn't for you, then the lands of our Zhao family wouldn't have been returned. Zhao Kunsen pointed at Mo Fan's nose as he cursed. Zhao Kunsen was also from this area of the city, and he counted as the servant of the Mu family as well. Family servant. These words were quite harsh in modern times. However, if a family's livelihood was due to the Mu family's owner's fondness of flowers, then how was the Zhao family, who takes care of the flowers and plants at the manor, not a gardener, a family servant? The Mu manor was too big. It was so big that it was like the land of a noble in olden times. Such places had over 100 nobles in the manor, and revolving around these people were farmers, manual laborers, and servants, numbering over 1,000. According to the older generations, this entire city area belonged to the Mu family. In order to survive, households like Mo Fan and Zhao Kunsen were naturally orbiting the true powerful and rich. Zhao Kunsen held a grudge against Mo Fan. If he wasn't so reckless and provoked the old master, then the farmers would have lived good days. Mo Fan, don't you have even a little bit of brain? I already knew from early on that there are some people that I can't touch in my lifetime, and remaining at a respectful distance would only benefit the family. You just had to invite trouble. You think a toad can eat the meat of a swan? Do you freaking think this is some TV drama? A cow caretaker marries a princess. Get out of here. Zhao Kunsen pointed at Mo Fan in disdain. With the appearance of Mu Ningzhu this time, Zhao Kunsen also completely released the anger he had concealed within his heart. The stupid thing Mo Fan did back in the day had involved too many people, too many families. A princess is a princess. When you need to show her respect from a distance, then you should. This isn't a fairy tale. When you cross that boundary, the king will increase the taxes in his rage, and this will cause the entire village and town's farming families to suffer beyond words. Today, standing in the back of the platform, the white-haired, middle-aged man emitting a heroic aura was the king. His name was Mu Zhouyan. He was the person who could genuinely shake the entire Bo City with the stomp of his foot. This was the person Mo Fan provoked. Mu Zhouyan was known for being benevolent by not making Mo Fan's entire family drop to the point where they'd have to beg for food. Zhao Kunsen, could you shut your mouth? What, did I say anything wrong? Zhao Kunsen replied. Mo Fan glanced at Zhao Kunsen. Truth be told, the words he spoke made Mo Fan feel guilty. This matter was far from what he imagined the reality to be. Some people understood things only after they had grown up. Some teased the students with bad grades, but a rich family, that was a silly thing. After entering society, the ones with money went overseas to study and came back with an incredible diploma. They could easily find a company and earn tens of thousands per month, and they'd still think it was too little money. Whereas those who had diligently studied, entered university, then submerged themselves in a multitude of jobs still had a quality of life that was simply not on the same level as those who were teased for their family background. Their ideal world was erased, they lost their spirits, yet remained tired, and still more poor than a freaking dog. The words Zhao Kunsen had said did, however, make people understand that his mindset was more mature than his peers. He already knew it'd be better like this than mindlessly pursuing his goals. Or else, failing the dream, and the cruel reality would cause you to lose all the ambitions from the past in just a single moment. It would be an unacceptable nightmare. Naturally, Mo Fan had no reason to admire Zhao Kunsen's perspective on reality. Instead, he felt like laughing. Zhao Kunsen, you sure have the potential and consciousness to be a dog. That is something I, Mo Fan, would never be able to have in my lifetime. I admire that. I truly do. Mo Fan said back to him, who the hell are you? If I am a dog, then I'd be a posh dog, eating good food, living in a small, pretty house, wearing beautiful clothes. You're just the dog of a dying family, a degenerate dog. A dog that eats from the trash. Why don't you look at what kind of thing you are, with your body that emits the stench of a garbage heap? The most amusing thing is, you still don't understand how stinky you are yet. You just had to ruin the last land of your family simply so you could come to the magic high. But at the end of the day, you just get kicked out anyways. I just want to ask your dad, Mo Jiaxing, if he ever regrets giving birth to a person with such shit luck, like yours. Zhao Kunsen continued to curse. Mo Fan's cursing had actually directly struck Zhao Kunsen's weak points. However, Zhao Kunsen wasn't someone who was easy to deal with. He admitted he was a dog and bit Mo Fan back. Mo Fan looked toward the group of people. Naturally, his eyes caught the vague person who seemed to somewhat take pleasure in this whole ordeal. This person was naturally Mu Bai. This was the young master who lived on someone else's charity, the same one who Mo Fan had pressed down onto the floor and beaten up in the past. In the past, when everyone was still a child, their retaliation would at most be throwing stones, breaking their windows, fairly harmless actions. But now, a person's fate would greatly change under the magic awakening and magic examination. The Mu Bai who suddenly rose up had finally been given an opportunity to hit Mo Fan back. For now, Mu Bai had released this dog, Zhao Kunsen. Mo Fan, however, had been plotting for a while, and he'd waited for a better opportunity to give a ferocious cut. Not bad, not bad. The kid who was beaten like a dog in the past had finally learned how to scheme. It seemed that disciplining him like a father for so many years had not been in vain. Come, use whatever move you have in your arsenal. I have more than enough experience dealing with these flamers and posers. I have never lost. To fight meanness with meanness, and seek revenge for the smallest grievance, not letting them get away. Chapter 23 Magic Bitch. Alright, stop being so loud. The examination begins now. If there is any more noise coming from any of you, then you'll lose your qualifications to take it. Just thinking about the expression on Lady Mu Ningzhu's face at seeing you being expelled in front of all the students and teachers, I reckon she would definitely regret wanting to run away with you in the past selfishly. Mu Bai didn't feel a need to conceal his objectives anymore as he whispered these sinister words into Mo Fan's ear. Your mouth smells like crap. I can't handle this stink. Don't get close to me. Mo Fan used his hand to block him. The corner of Mu Bai's mouth twitched. I'll let this kid be arrogant for a while more yet. In the past, Mo Fan had held Mu Bai on the ground as he fiercely beat him up in front of Mu Ningzhu. Since then, and for the rest of his life, Mu Bai would be unable to raise his head in front of Mu Ningzhu. Even now, he still felt ashamed. Today, he, Mu Bai, planned on letting Mo Fan suffer even worse. Being expelled in front of the entire school in Mu Ningzhu. In this society where magic was the ultimate authority, that was reason enough for Mo Fan to be ridiculed and looked down upon by Mu Ningzhu. When he returned to his father, Mo Jiaxing, how was he going to explain this to his father who sold their house just so he could enter Magic High, when he returned? Unqualified students being expelled during the annual examination was a very common matter. Being expelled wasn't something announced to the entire school. The school wasn't likely to be that unkind. However, there was one exception where the school would directly announce the expulsion. That would be when the magician's stardust hadn't shown any progress at all. Under normal circumstances, after the students had awakened their stardust, they would properly cultivate it every day. Even the more clumsy people would slowly make their stardust glow and develop their magic capabilities, unless the student was too lazy to do so. In order to punish this type of student, who wasted the awakening resources and magic books, and to help make the other school students understand that cultivation was not a child's game where you could waste your time, the school would publicly announce the expulsion of a student whose cultivation was far too low. This kind of public announcement might not happen every year, and it was set up to encourage the students who took the back door to enter the school. During the start of this school semester, the entire class conducted a rough examination. At that time, Mo Fan's cultivation was practically at zero. Shui Misheng almost made a public slandering of Mo Fan in a fit of fury. Now, the school semester had ended, while also entering the most important annual examination. If things went according to the calculations, then Mo Fan's cultivation would be very likely to approach the line of public expulsion. Naturally, to prevent a miscalculation, Mu Bai and his uncle, Mu He, had also prepared a big present for Mo Fan. This big present was enough to put Mo Fan out of bounds, giving him the honor of receiving the punishment that school hadn't given for 3 years. The most fortunate thing was that Mu Ningzhu and Mu Zhouyan would also be present to view this scene. Mu Bai felt much happier just thinking about it. Today was the day to show himself off, and from that day on, soar through the sky with high status. It was also the day for that cheap Mo Fan to be humiliated. How great, how great! The annual examination will now officially begin. All of the 30 classes in the school began simultaneously. The process of the test was actually very simple. You just had to place your hand on the star appraisal stone while everyone, including the examiners, watched. Then, you concentrated to enter a meditative state, and at that time, the star appraisal stone would emit the same radiance as the examinee's stardust. They would then assess the level of the cultivation based on the radiance. Every student had 3 attempts. The final result was based on the attempt with the brightest radiance. Naturally, the more the student concentrated on it, the more the star appraisal stone would accurately display the radiance of the student's stardust. The order of the examinees was random. The first examinee naturally happened to be that weeping beauty, classmate He Yu, who was already standing at the front. The girl was still that timid. She was still extremely shy as she walked to the front of the star appraisal stone under everyone's gaze. She looked as though she was scared of being expelled. "You may begin," the bald examiner said. "Good luck, He Yu. Your teacher and your fellow classmates believe in you," Shui Misheng said. "Don't worry if you don't do well. I will take care of you. The nut job of a dorm head," Jian Hua said. He Yu was feeling shy as she closed her eyes. She then placed her small hands on the massive star appraisal stone. The entire class suddenly turned silent. Their eyes were attentively watching the girl who was taking the first test, and it seemed as though they were more nervous than the examinee. For some reason, Mo Fan felt a change in He Yu's temperament after she began her test. Her expression turned serious. Although she was nervous, she wasn't frenetic. The black star appraisal stone gradually emitted some radiance from within. In the beginning, it looked like the early sunrise. Following He Yu's intense focus, the radiance gradually spread around the star appraisal stone, causing the radiance to fill the surroundings. A. In this moment, the 3 examiners practically announced the results simultaneously. "Classmate, it's done. Your final result is an A," the bald examiner said without an expression on his face. He Yu opened her eyes. She looked as though she was unable to believe it, before she excitedly said, Really? I got an A?" Although the scene of a girl happily yelling out she got an A was strange, they had no choice but to admit that He Yu's final results gave everyone a surprise. Freaking hell. An A? That's the standard for entering the elite class. I'm speechless. Before the test, she was sitting there wailing endlessly. We really thought she was drifting on the borderline of being expelled, but as the final results came out, she freaking got an A. Magic bitch. What a typical magic studying bitch. I'll never believe her again. After the results came out, Mo Fan's dorm head, classmate Jianhua, was completely flabbergasted. "Raise her, my ass. It'd be really good if he would be able to get a B. He's just blindly worrying about someone who got an A." The homeroom teacher, Shui Musheng's expression, was stiff. He was deceived by the female teacher who acted all cute. However, having the first one to take the test and get an A made Shui Misheng feel happy overall. All the grades will be summed up, and after that, the 30 classes will compare the average grades. Shui Misheng felt like his own class had the potential to reach the top 3. The biggest competition was the class next door, Class 7. With that lightning element kid, Xu Jiaoting, who knew how much of a difference there would be between the classes. However, what he wished for was the most outstanding student in his class, Mu Bai, to not be inferior to Xu Jiaoting in any respect. Next one. Do you want to partake the test? The bald examiner said, as he looked at He Yu. He Yu shook her head in haste as she said, I've only grasped 6 stars so far, so I'll let it be. All right. We'll use the evaluation from your other teachers to decide which class you'll be placed in, the bald examiner said. Thank you, teacher. He Yu walked out, happily. Originally, she wanted to share this joy with the friends next to her. However, she realized the friends were all a meter away from her. She was puzzled by this. She didn't do anything wrong. Her grades were pretty good, right? Next, Zhang Xiaohou, the examiner announced the name. Zhang Xiaohou couldn't help but be surprised. He didn't think it would be his turn so soon. Brother Fan, I'm going, Zhang Xiaohou said to Mo Fan. Do your best, and stay calm, Mo Fan replied. You shouldn't be advising other people. Hearing it makes me want to puke, without fail. Zhao Kunsen followed, saying this. Mo Fan was puzzled. Is this Zhao Kunsen on a stalker mode and conversation denial mode? How is it possible that he would just pour cold water along with everything I do?